folks. Welcome back to the show. It is January 12th. We have a special guest, JT, the Iowa Investigator, joining on this episode. But before that, we are powered by MediaCom.
We got a special offer from MediaCom. Do you live in Cedar Falls or Waterloo? This MediaCom deal is just for you. Get 1 gig of internet for $50 a month and lock in that price for 3 years. You'll get Eero Wi-Fi, equipment, and unlimited data, all included. Cedar Falls and Waterloo residents can call 833-354-0574 and lock in that 3-year price with MediaCom. That's 833-354-0574. Offer is only available in Cedar Falls and Waterloo. Call that number. Taxes and fees are extra. You can get the full details. Just call that number on the screen.
Yeah, I was really hoping for a better start to my 2026, but to be honest, it's been awful. My sports teams are losing. My eyeball is still not healing, but my internet is holding everything in my life together.
Hey,
so
boy, are you crispy online. Scott was asking, how's your Fortnite been going? I know you got this internet for the podcast, but that's probably also helped your gaming abilities.
Yeah. I think I got a record amount of dubs here in late December, January. If anybody knows, I'm as terrible as a Fortnite player that anyone's ever met. But when you have a good, clean, crisp internet, the shot accuracy is just a little bit better on there. So I could definitely coin a few of those victories to Jeremy and MediaCom.
Well, if you're in the Cedar Valley, call that number for gaming purposes, work from home. MediaCom will hook you up. It's a great deal. All right, let's get into this show.
All right, today we are joined by someone to where no secret in the state is safe. If it happened in Iowa, this man knows about it. Folks, grab your pen and paper because this guy's about to take you to school, Iowa school. Please welcome JT, the Iowa Investigator.
Welcome, JT. Thanks for joining the show.
Yeah, it's good to be here. Didn't know what to expect for an introduction, but that was great. Appreciate it.
That wasn't so bad. That was pretty cool.
We kind of winged those last second, but we make it work. JT, we talk a lot about Iowa. Obviously, you talk a lot about Iowa, but I want to flip the script real quick. Myself, the state of Iowa, Bryce, we want to know a little bit about yourself, where you're from, where'd you grow up, what do you do, hobbies, anything like that. Let's understand you, brother.
So I am from Eastern Iowa. I live in Bettendorf. I've been in Eastern Iowa for really my entire life. I went to college in Cedar Rapids. People do comment sometimes that it's like, your stuff is mostly Eastern Iowa. And it's easier to get to stuff in Eastern Iowa. I'd like to do more, but that's kind of where I am, where I'm from. I've lived my whole life in the state. I'm in my low 30s, and that's kind of the very quick and dirty of who I am and what I do. So
nice. Yeah, we'll definitely throw your socials up for anyone that's not familiar with you as they join in on the recording. And what's the best way to describe your social account? To me, it's education. It's everything that I should know about Iowa, and thanks to you, I actually finally do know. We've been doing this Iowa Chill thing for a long time, and you have exposed my lack of knowledge in a lot of different areas. But how would you describe your social accounts?
Well, it's very strange, and like the background and kind of story of what happened is almost bizarre because none of it happened on purpose. It just kind of all came together. But like I downloaded TikTok in 2020 during the pandemic, and it was just because like I had never imagined having it, but people are like, "Oh, it's good for being bored and you can scroll." And I didn't even think about making videos or doing anything for a couple years. And then like in 2022, I started messing around and posting really random videos that had nothing to do with Iowa. And it's funny, if you go to my TikTok and you look at the more popular videos, like they're all non-Iowa videos, because I would have these videos that would go super viral, and that's great and everything, but they were just really random. So I wouldn't gain any following or anything. And then probably about 3 years ago, so would have been like 2023 now, like early 2023, I had like 1,400 followers, and I had an idea. I was like, okay, there's a town somewhere in Iowa that has 1,400 people, or about 1,400 people. So I'll make a video about this, and I'll start a series, and I'll call it Tracking the Number of Followers I Have and Comparing It to a City in Iowa with a Similar Population. So that way, as I gain followers, I could do the next town, and then the next town, and then the next town, and it would give me like constant content. And I was looking at these towns, and I had never even heard of a lot of these towns. And
Right.
some of them are interesting, some of them really aren't interesting. But I would see these stories, and I'd be like, like this is interesting. I didn't know about this, but if other people find it, and my first videos weren't good, I didn't really know what I was doing, but it allowed me to kind of slowly build up a following, and I've probably made hundreds of those videos. And then somewhere along the way, someone commented about 2 years ago, almost exactly. I need to find that comment, and just said, "Bro is the Iowa Investigator." And the light kind of went off that I was kind of like, okay, maybe I need to just brand this whole account as the Iowa Investigator and make videos mostly about Iowa, which is what I do. And it's kind of just gone from there. But I realized that I grew up and I was kind of a history kid. Like I didn't love history, but I kind of found a loophole with my parents that if I was watching a bunch of cartoons, they'd come in and be like, go outside, like do something. But if I was watching the History Channel or something like that, I could get a little bit more screen time because they'd be like, well, it's not SpongeBob. He's doing something productive, so he can sit and watch his World War II documentary. So I liked history growing up. And then when I started this page, I realized there's a ton of cool Iowa history that I'm not even aware of. And I grew up as a person who liked history. So I'm like, if I don't know it, there's probably a bunch of other people that don't know it. So if I can tell these stories, people might find it interesting. And that's obviously been the case, which is nice.
Yeah, I mean, it's been fun to watch the evolution. I think I messaged you saying that I started following you around the time for Oskaloosa, which I don't even think we did that town. But it was around that 10,000 mark, and I'm like, this guy's got something. This is going to be a fun little thing. And then I love seeing the evolution of where it's gone. I truly enjoy the unique takes and the stuff you're discovering. And I'm sure we'll get into a little bit more, but
I just connected two dots right now. This is crazy. About 6 months ago, my coworker Tommy was begging me to get this guy on our podcast that's comparing the population of towns to his content. And I saw the page. I'm like, this is a really cool idea. Like Tommy, chill out. Let him gain some traction momentum. We'll get him when he's getting around to maybe like a Council Bluffs population of like 60,000 people, and then we'll get him on. I totally forgot that you eventually flipped over to the Iowa Investigator. So when you brought that up, I'm like, shit. My coworkers be pumped that you're here.
Yeah, shout out Tommy. I love that guy. Never heard of him, but he sounds awesome. So
Yes.
So that's how the Investigator began. So obviously things go from what we kind of first found you from, and then to some more in-depth looks to even moments where you're traveling around the state. What are 3 of the most recent things that you've researched, investigated, if you will, and time usually spent investigating? How long do some of these videos take?
it totally depends. Some of them come together really quick because I find an idea or find a story and it's easy to tell, and I can look stuff up and it's just like bang, 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 and it comes together. Some take much longer and some are more complicated, and with the time restraints of kind of the short form video, it's hard to kind of morph what you exactly want to say and make sure you're doing it somewhat efficiently. I feel like I tend to ramble like I'm probably doing now. And then if I travel, which I love to travel, I love to get out and see things. Obviously the travel time is somewhat significant, and that sucks up just driving to different places. I love doing it. It's great. It's fun. I love seeing new places that I haven't seen, just because I've lived in Iowa most of my life, but I live right on I-80. And if you live right on I-80, you can go to Iowa City, you can go to Cedar Rapids, you can go to Des Moines, but there's a lot of areas that I just never went because I had no reason to go when I was a kid. And we weren't big travelers. We weren't big tourists around the state. So it was, and I'm 2.5 hours from Chicago. So if you're going somewhere, a lot of times you're going over to Chicago for something big. So even though I've lived here, the actual percentage of the state that I've put my own eyes on is pretty limited, and I love seeing new things. So I love doing that traveling, but that does take time when you're driving 6 hours to see something, and it's like, well, 6 hours could be spent a lot of different ways. But to answer your question of kind of 3 things I was able to stall and kind of get my mind around 3 things that I would... So like the first one I would say, and this isn't recent, this is kind of one of my babies, would be like the government bridge in Davenport, Iowa, which is kind of a great example of just the totality of my page and how I think about it. This is an old bridge that I've been aware of since I was a little kid because it's an old, scary bridge. And then I started looking into it, and it's one of the most significant pieces of infrastructure in American history because it was the first rail bridge across the Mississippi. There was a lot of drama with it. There were a lot of prominent historical figures that are involved with that bridge's past. And I had just always kind of been like, yeah, that's an old rickety bridge. It's kind of scary to drive over because it's old. But then it's like, it's actually very, very significant in American history. So I'd say that would be one. A second, I would say, is like the Driftless area in kind of the Dubuque region, the northeast corner. Very picturesque stuff up there. And like I remember being a kid, we would go up to Dubuque every once in a while, once or twice a year, and I'd always be like, why did they build this city on the side of a hill? Because it's cool, but it's noticeable when you're in Dubuque that there's a bunch of weird intersections, there's a bunch of hills and terrains. It's got to be a nightmare when it snows just to get around because everything's so hilly. And that's what I'd always thought. Come to research it, and it's like, oh, that's because the glaciers in the last ice age didn't go over this area, so it's very unique terrain. The reason it's hilly is because of these reasons. I'd never thought of that, but when I learned it, it was like, oh, and this all makes sense. And you can kind of put two and two together with that, and I think stuff's neat. And then a third, I recently, probably in the last couple months, did a video on the Underground Railroad in Iowa, and this kind of ties in with, they don't tie in, they're similar with the mafia. There was a lot of mafia old activity in Iowa, and the reason those are similar is it's so much legend because since they were doing illegal activities or what were illegal activities at the time, there's not a lot of documentation. The Underground Railroad coming through Iowa, there's legends of it. There's a ton of people that say, I think this old barn or this house was part of it, but they weren't writing stuff down because they were committing crimes, and that's not a good idea. So it's all kind of legend, and it's the same way with, Al Capone's ties to Iowa, which allegedly run extremely deep.
I got a good story about Al Capone.
Yeah, you go, Nate.
Go for it.
I'm from Laguna, Iowa, very north central Iowa.
Okay.
You did a quick story about the POW camp, and I just mentioned that on last week's podcast. Al Capone's tied to Algona, Iowa. So a friend of ours, he's kind of like a distant cousins, right? Iowa, small town, everyone's related. His great grandpa in the town of Wesley, which is just 15 minutes east of Algona, used to make moonshine for Al Capone and his gang. And what they would do is, I don't know how often when they would come up, but they would go to the local cemetery in Wesley, Iowa, at a designated grave site right there. They would dig up that grave every time. There would be moonshine in there, dig it up. They put the money down in the graves, dig it back down, and then they did that process for like a year. They ultimately got a picture with them too. So he was making his mark.
The amount of people that have like DM'd me like similar stories of like, oh, my great uncle had a safe house and Al Capone used to go there and play poker with him all the time. It was just outside of Fort Dodge. I'm like, that's awesome. I can't really tell that story because there's no way I can document that in any way. And like the amount of stories I've heard, I'm like, I don't know if 50% of these are true and 50% of them are legend. I know some of it's true. I don't really care what is what at this point, but that's just kind of the funny part about when I made a video about that. I got so many comments of people claiming these stories, and I'm like, if that's a true story, that's awesome. But I have no way, and I'm sure there's no like handwritten notes from Al Capone being like, great doing the bootlicking here, or bootlicking here, the moonshining here. We loved it. So, but I think that stuff is wildly fascinating, but there are
sometimes
kind of limits to what you can actually, how you can tell those stories. And same with the Underground Railroad, there's just tons of people that are like, I'm pretty sure this was, or there were these rooms in our house that we think are, and I'm like, that is awesome, but it's just, that's kind of the lore with those stories. So.
Yeah, I never thought of it that you're giving us so much information, but behind the scenes, how much DMs and all this wild fantasy stories are coming through your pages. That'd be Yeah, at night I sit and scroll through Instagram DMs. I wish I was you sometimes just scrolling through these unbelievable stories that people are just giving me.
Yeah, and honestly, I get a ton of my ideas from people DMing me stuff, and like I tell people, I'm like, DM me whatever you want, any ideas you have. If it's good and I can make a video on it, that's great. Sometimes people will also DM me things like, my aunt has an antique shop in this town, and it's a really cool story, and I'm like, that's cool, but I also have to kind of pick and
Not
choose on.
always this, yeah, the
That's
same
really
thing that you're
cool to
going into.
you,
Yeah.
but it's kind of like I'm looking for cool stuff that appeals to a lot of people.
We
But
got 4 million people here. We need to entertain your Grant's antique shop. We're
right,
not going to cut it today.
Well, on the Al Capone front and some of the Dubuque, Driftless area, I do want you to research the Hotel Julian because I've heard, and I think there might be an avenue to go down here with him having safe houses around that area. If you find anything and make
yeah.
a video, I'll be pumped and I'll watch the whole thing.
Yeah, there's Dubuque's awesome. I mean, it's the oldest town in Iowa. I mean, in terms of European settlement towns. So there's like more history there than pretty much any other town. And
Right.
I've made several videos about Dubuque. People are like, you're focusing on Dubuque. I'm like, Dubuque's got more cool stuff than most towns, so it's gonna get
Dubuque
a
was
little
there
focus.
first, yeah.
Right.
So one of my favorite things that you've been doing recently is the ghost towns, some of the lost towns of Iowa. There was a few on the list that I looked up on Wikipedia after you actually got me down the rabbit hole, and then it's kind of top of mind for me because I grew up in Pella, right next to Lake Red Rock, and obviously Lake Red Rock was flooded. What are
Yeah.
some of the I think I saw the Buxton video, but have you gone down any more rabbit holes on lost towns, ghost towns of Iowa?
Yeah, I think I've a little bit. Buxton is kind of the coolest one that I found. The stories on most of those towns are very similar in that they were tied to the coal mining that existed
Right.
in Iowa from the late 1800s to really like the 1930s, when that was really the biggest industry in Iowa, was pulling coal out of the ground. It's crazy none's pulled out of the ground anymore because the coal in Iowa is not good coal. I mean, you can debate how good any coal is, but the coal in Iowa was especially stinky and dirty. So there were a lot of towns, and I mean, there's a lot of areas around Des Moines that have old coal mining infrastructure and old mines. It was a huge thing in and around Des Moines, but there were also these little towns like Buxton. Buxton was obviously unique because of the amount of African Americans living there and how it became kind of this almost Harlem type community within the Midwest. But there were very similar towns that brought immigrants from, I think, Scandinavia, different places in Europe, and they coal mined in these towns for a short period of time. And then the coal companies left, and the people had come in oftentimes to do the coal mining, so they don't have the physical ties to the areas, and then these towns just sort of disappeared. So there's cool stuff in all those little unique kind of old crevices of Iowa. From what I've seen, Buxton kind of stands alone just because of its
Definitely.
particular history, but there is a lot of cool stuff that is out there with those.
Where was
Yeah,
Buxton
I love
located
that
at?
series.
I think it's in, I should know this. I think it's Monroe County. It's down in
Yep.
South Iowa. I know, which kind of, that's, there was like a
You got it
coal
right. It
vein
is
that kind
Monroe
of goes,
County.
oh, wow. I should have been more confident.
All right,
JT,
let's see the exact location here.
yeah, dig
You
that
you
up.
keep going, Nate.
JT, here, I want to know what a lot of people. Let me reword this real quick. In your opinion, what is the most common misconception a lot of people might have about Iowa?
I think one, and this is probably a misconception that I had a little bit. I've always had a lot of pride in Iowa. I mean, I've lived here, so why not? I don't think it sucks. Otherwise, I would have left. But I just think it's more interesting than people give it credit for. I think that's with a lot of areas. I think if I would have grown up in Vermont, I might be JT, the Vermont something. I don't know what someone would have to name me. But I just think like local history is cool, and there's cool stuff. And when you study history and U.S. history, you're not getting a lot of what happened in Iowa. It's just, it doesn't quite tip the meter on that type of stuff. But I don't think that doesn't mean there isn't cool, historical, interesting stuff happening here. And it's always kind of bothered me when people will say, oh, Iowa's so boring, or there's nothing to do there. And I'm like, I feel like you're kind of a boring person if you think that way. There's stuff going on. I don't get bored. I find stuff to do. There's a ton of stuff I want to do. It's just I don't always have the time to do it. So that's kind of the misconception that I'm looking to, prove wrong is there's interesting stuff here. And that's kind of when people will comment things or send me messages and say, I didn't know there was all this interesting stuff. I really enjoy learning it. I'm like, me too. That's kind of why I do it is you find this interesting stuff. And I'm not saying, oh, they should be teaching this in school. They're not doing a good job teaching this in school. There's a lot of stuff you need to teach in school. It's not easy to teach everything. But if you're interested in it, there's cool things that have happened here that you probably didn't know about. So
That exact answer is why Iowa Chill is here to this day. Back in the day, I'm like, there's so much more going on in the state than people ever give it credit for. Whether it's hillbilly, crazy outdoor things going on in their backyards or acres, or just some cool, untapped history that you're cracking right now and spreading this information in the state. Man, I was like a hidden diamond in the rough, in my opinion.
Oh, definitely. I mean, you've exposed it, right? Like you've all the different topics. Like there's the make your own fun attitude that I think you have to have living here. But like you're kind of proving in real time that there are things to do here, and there's things like if you're interested in this kind of thing to go out and see. Obviously, you said like it does take the time, the money. Like you have to go drive and find these things, but like they are out there. So I guess like kind of leading into the next question, where does this go for you? Is there an end goal, or do you just want to continue to educate and prove that Iowa's a little bit more than it might seem?
there's no end goal. I would like it to continue to grow and hopefully expand into other things where I can be talking about not just historical stuff, but things that are going on. I enjoy talking about sports. I don't talk about sports a whole lot on my page. I'll do it in the context of this is something cool that's happening in Iowa. I'm probably more equipped to talk educatedly about sports than I am the stuff I talk about with Iowa. So I don't know if there's more stuff I can do there, but it kind of always evolves and grows with what's happening on the page, what I'm capable of doing, it even literally changes with the seasons, with the shorter days in the winter. I'm not getting out as much because there's less daylight to actually get to where I want to go and see the things that I want to see. So
Sure.
hopefully it'll just continue to evolve in the future. There's not any sort of end goal of, I mean, I guess in the theory of what started this was the tracking the number of followers I have. I guess getting to Des Moines' population in followers would kind of put a stamp on that whole process that started this. But I'm also not super even close to Des Moines' population yet because it's several 100,000. So I guess that
gonna
gives me
be
a lot of
big day
runway.
for
So
yeah, for the day one followers or the day 10,000, like I think I was like that's going to be a gratifying day, knowing that you finally
well,
got to that mark and being like, man, this started at nothing.
and it's funny because it started with that, but because of the fact that I've gained the number of followers I have, and now I only have 4 towns left on that. It would be Sioux City, Davenport, Cedar Rapids, and Des Moines. People who have followed me recently, those videos haven't really been made recently because I just haven't hit those towns. So there's a whole tranche of people, and I've started posting my stuff on Instagram, which then puts it over on Facebook. Like those people might be confused because they weren't even involved at the beginning on TikTok, but whatever. It's just that's kind of how it is. But there's not an end game. There's not a here's where I want to go. It's just hopefully people continue to react positively to it and enjoy what I'm doing. And as long as that's happening, I'll continue to do it and see where it goes. So
I still think it's probably one of the most unique ways I've ever seen someone focus their content around right off the town population. So for that, I always tip my hat to you. We're gonna wrap up this episode with some rapid fire questions. I'll go ahead. I'll start us off with JT. If you had to live in one Iowa town other than your current one of Bettendorf, where would it be and why? And I'm going to add a little to this. If you can pick a small town and a larger town, because I would assume most people are going to, well, Des Moines, but let's give some love to the
yeah,
small.
that would be the simple answer would be Des Moines, but I'm not going to say that. I'm going to say Dubuque. I know we've talked about Dubuque. People are going to think I'm like some sort of Dubuque homer. I've never even lived in Dubuque. I just think it's cool. So I would say for a bigger town, I'd like Dubuque, right on the river, nice bluffs. And then for a smaller town, maybe I'm trying to think of what I'm trying to think of like a smaller town around Iowa City because I enjoy Iowa City, but I don't want to say Solon. I don't mind Solon, but I'm not going to say
Too
Solon.
trendy.
So let's say, I'll say Mount Vernon. I don't want to. I know a guy from Mount Vernon. He's going to give me crap for saying that, but we'll say Mount Vernon's lovely. It's on a nice little hill. They got the university there. It's kind of close to stuff. So I'll just make sure he doesn't listen to this.
That's a good choice. I
we'll say Mount
would have
Vernon.
guessed Mount Vernon. I like that. That's a great choice.
It's actually Mount Vernon has this like unique geography. I made this video about it like 2 years ago, but it's on this like special type of hill, and it's like I don't know, it's kind of cool. So
I went
sled.
like one time. I think we played basketball at Cornell College one time, and I thought
Okay.
it was a pretty town. Definitely,
It's
never
nice
would have
town.
known about the geology, but I thought it was cool at the time. Okay, how about we switch gears and say your top 2 favorite restaurants?
Okay.
That could be any cuisine in any part of the.
Okay, I'm gonna change the rules and go rapid fire and say I'm gonna give you 4 of them because it's hard to nail it
Okay.
down. And so I'm gonna give you Sports Fans, which is in downtown Bettendorf. It's a sports bar. I used to live like 2 blocks from there, and I was kind of a regular. I love that place. It's the perfect. It's not a dive, but it's got some divey elements to it that it's lovely. It's perfect. It's very affordable. It's awesome. I'm also gonna say Smash Pizza in Bettendorf, which is a newer restaurant. It's small and it's really, really good. So it's always crowded. It's kind of tough to get in there, but it's awesome. They do like kind of bar food, but it's like scaled up and just really, really good. And pizza, but it's not just pizza. And then I'm going to get out of the Quad Cities because that's not fair. I'm going to say the Irish Democrat, which is in Cedar Rapids.
Cedar Rapids, yeah.
Yeah, when I went to school in Cedar Rapids, that was like where we always went. Like if it was like, all right, let's go out to eat somewhere, let's go to the Irish Democrat. So it just became the place we went. And then the last one, I thought I had a last one. Oh, you know what? I do. I've only been there once. I don't know if you guys are around Des Moines. Have you ever been to Noah's Ark in Des Moines?
Yeah, very, very good.
I don't even remember what I had. It was fine, but it's like a biblically themed Italian restaurant, which is just wild. And
very unassuming from the outside. It just kind of looks like a plain brick building.
Yeah, I remember being like, Noah's Ark, like what does that even mean? How is that a restaurant? And then going in there and just being like, this is just a bizarre, but in the best way. So I'm going to say Noah's Ark in Des Moines. Only been there once. I think it was lovely, but I was just blown away by the fact that we have this like Noah's Ark for an Italian restaurant. Who would have thought?
Yeah,
So
Bible
that's,
theme.
that's
Italian.
what I'll say.
Who would have thought? Okay, I like that. I like how you switched us up too and just said I'm going to make my own rules.
Yeah.
JT, as a Kossuth County resident, this is as controversial as a question as it possibly can get for the 17,000 residents that reside there. As we know, Kossuth County is the largest county in the state of Iowa. Does it need to be split into 2 to make an even 100?
So I think on principle, yes. I think it should be done. Logistically, I don't think so. Just because. So I don't know if this is a long time ago. I made a video about Kossuth County and how it should be split into 2 counties. Now, I didn't realize at the time there was a reason. I figured there was. But the top half, there's hardly anyone that lives there. So it sort of makes sense. The problem with that video, and I didn't do it on purpose, I had never heard Kossuth County said, and I called it Kossuth County.
That was crazy.
Like 7 times in the video. And this was like right when I had officially changed my handle to the Iowa Investigator, and people were really mad. And kind of rightfully so, but it was also kind of an honest mistake. And I'm like, sorry, I had never been there, and no one from Kossuth had ever come and talked to me and said, hey, here's how you say it. I'd read it on the screen and was like, Kossuth. I didn't think twice about it. And they were really mad. The thing about that is my rivalry with Kossuth County vaulted my followership. I probably went from like 4,000 to 8,000 followers because of that video. It was early on, but it kind of went viral because they were so angry at me, which rightfully so, but I'm also kind of like, all right, your anger helped fuel this
Controversy
page,
sells
which is kind of
sometimes, for
weird.
sure.
So yeah, and I don't do it on purpose, but I do occasionally butcher a pronunciation, and
I think I
unfortunately
just
that
saw a
helps the
video
views.
where you went through like maybe 7 to 10 different either counties or towns that you had pronounced incorrectly, and I think that was very humble and
Yeah,
justifiable.
So hold
yeah,
on.
and it's hard.
Yeah, there. I don't.
What's
Was there an answer?
What's
in
the
there?
answer here?
I would say no.
That's my boy.
No on practicality reasons. And honestly, it's okay. 99's kind of fun. It's like, 99 cents for, something. It's like it's not, it doesn't need
True,
to
it's
be
different.
a flat 100. Yeah. So
Hey, you're
I
welcome.
and you could also you could split I'm losing the name. The one that Council Bluffs is in. I I should know that because yeah. Either way, that one's the second biggest county, and you could probably logistically cut that one too. But there's
Potawatomi.
Potawatomi. That's it. So
Split-
Potawatomi, also large. You could split that one, but I think it's okay with how it is. I'm okay, and I'm trying to make peace with the people of
I was
Kasuth.
gonna say, I think
So,
that's a PR answer right there. Hey, but JT, you're welcome to Kasuth County anytime after that answer.
yeah. I'm gonna try to eventually get to every county. Hopefully, when the weather gets better, not better. The weather's been fine, but when it gets warmer and the days get longer, I'll be out doing more stuff.
When you had the
Well, I have an official invite for you to come visit Red Oak, Iowa with us. We got a little bit of flack
Okay.
because we were wondering who, why, and how do people live. 6,000 people live in Red Oak, Iowa, and now we've been officially invited to go visit. So if you'd like, please join us for that venture.
What are you just going to say you did it, or is there something in Red Oak?
We're going to try and find every piece of entertainment in Red Oak, Iowa. I
someone
think.
from
Okay.
Red Oak, like the travel guide or entertainment purposes, whatever their title is at Red Oak, invited us on a day tour there. So
I'm sure you can find stuff. I could, yeah. I mean, 6,000. There's got to be stuff to do. So
There's got
you'll be good. And hey, let me know, and I'll see if I can make it out. Haven't been to the Red Oak. That's southwest, isn't it?
Yep.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
Which
Well,
is
gotta
truthfully, like
eventually.
in all the years of doing Iowa Chill, Nate's been doing this thing for a long time. I joined like 2018-ish, and in that 5 to 7 years, we don't do a great job of representing Southwest Iowa. So even on top of the outward motion we made against Red Oak, I think it's truly like an Iowa Chill goal to start representing the western part of the state, which is sometimes tough.
Yeah, and that's something I've been to the western side of the state so few times, and I'm not because I'm anti-western part of the state. It's just there's
Yeah,
not
JT, you're not
there
helping
hasn't
us
been
here.
a reason to go. I know, but you
act
should,
like it's the other side of
and you
the-
will.
It
We have
is.
the same
Yeah,
problem.
I'm telling you, I want to go. I'm just telling you why I haven't.
Like
So
Lewis and Clark out there barking to the west side.
Okay, that wasn't so rapid fire. That's our bad.
yeah, I'm sorry.
Next one. Favorite place in Iowa to grab a beer?
Oh, well, I already said sports fans. I love that place. But if we're talking about, if we're gonna go with the breweries, I love Toppling Goliath. I've never been up there to their facility. I'd like to go someday, but I'm a huge fan. Yeah, I've heard really good things, and I've been to Decorah. I just haven't made it. I think there's another really good brewery that's a lot smaller that's right next to it. It's called
Pulpit
like
Rock,
Yep,
probably.
Pulpit Rock.
Pulpit Rock. Yeah. So I'd love to go up there because Pseudo Sue is probably one of my favorite beers easily, and
Me
so
too.
that's
Me too.
kind of bucket list. So
And if we talked about Solon, that Big Grove Easy Eddie always gets me too.
yeah, I
that
went
answer.
to
Cool.
yeah Solon's. Big Grove's awesome too. I'm big fan of. I'm not super picky on beers at all, but I do have a couple that I really enjoy. So
All right.
Good answer.
If you thought Kasuth County was controversial, this one might top it here. Is it taco in a bag or walking taco?
So I call it a walking taco personally, but if I see it on a menu as taco in a bag, I'm not going to get offended. I see kind of how people do, but growing up for me, it was always walking taco, and then I don't know when people started using taco in a bag. I don't know if that was what happened there, but walking taco.
When you come to Kasuth County, you learn taco in a bag.
Okay.
My thing is like,
They brainwash you up there. They said we deserve the largest county. It's taco in a bag. They probably say Sloppy Joe for
Oh yeah.
loose meat sandwich or I grew up in Sioux Center, JT, and they used to call it tavern for those Materite type loose meat sandwiches. So
lame.
like,
Yeah.
it's messed up. Nate, I think it's you.
All right. We're gonna wrap this up with a famous question we end with every episode with every guest. JT, why is Iowa so special and unique?
I think that there's good people in Iowa, and there's a lot more diversity, and there's a lot more stuff going on than people from the outside give it credit for. And it separates by different parts of Iowa, but I think the history and just you can go to different parts of Iowa, and there's different cool history of why things are the way that they are. I mean, you said you're from Sioux Center. Like, I know that's like Sioux County is the most Dutch county in America in terms of percentage of people that are Dutch. There's more Dutch people in other counties, but in terms of percentage of people and why, there's reasons for that. And like those people don't know. People don't know that stuff because you don't get taught it, and people aren't reading history books of Iowa. And so there's just so many more cool things other than, oh, it's just a bunch of fields of corn. And it's just, which fields of corn is fine. I'm not against fields of corn by any means, but there's an outside perception of Iowa that it's boring and there's nothing to do. And I don't think that's true at all. And I think if you highlight these things, you can say, hey, this is a special, cool place that people can want to live here and people can have good lives here. And so that's kind of what makes it special. There's nothing super special about it, but you can find special things kind of anywhere, in my opinion. So,
Agreed.
Golden answer.
I like it.
JT, well, we appreciate you for hopping on today, and keep doing your thing, the great content. I really appreciate your content. At the same time, your content is the reason why I don't go to bed at certain times when I begin mindlessly scrolling. Of course, I want to know what happened in Iowa in 1882 in Lee County or something crazy like that. So,
yeah, it's important stuff. So
you are a reason of lack of my sleep sometimes, but for all means and purposes, keep doing your thing.
Well, I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks, JT. Everyone go follow JT, the Iowa Investigator. It was a fun 30-ish minutes or so. We'll see you soon, JT.